Hi, people. It's me again, of course, as always, Andrew, as usual, Marina Wavenberg. As always, Andrew, as usual, I'll be talking about, you see it in the header for yourself, this specifically Ethereal divination, the how-to, and etc. Now, before I continue, the article associated with this video, or better said, the video in which the article in which this video will be embedded and or is a part of, you can find it linked in the description as is the case by default. Now let's get down to it. I'll touch base in this article and explain on how to go about doing a divinatory reading without the utilization of conventional, usually scientifically themed or similar forms of esoteric information gathering. People that follow me are familiar with my mind delving technique for divinatory purposes. But if you're someone that either cannot do this or is not interested for whatever reason, for example, it's impractical for you or whatever, then you might ask yourself, how do I go about carrying out divinations? How do I spiritually do a reading without using any of the aforementioned material attributes? It can be done. The only requirement is that you're a decent practitioner in your own right and that you can, at the very least, summon and work with spirits. What you need to do in this case is utilize planetary magic, request an entity be introduced to you that fits your criteria, those in this case being you wanting an entity that suits your needs and desires and intentions fully, or at the very least for the most part, in regards to carrying out astral divinations. Now, there are a few things that you need to take into account for the sake of practicality and optimality. See below. The blessed planet needs to be chosen. Mars is best for men and the moon for women. The reason for this is that Mars has maximum concentrative powers and is heavy, to say the least. So maximum potency. The moon provides good, contextually high quality levels of potency for women and maximum swiftness. All at the same time. Men will be at peak power in this regard, and women will be super flexible and agile and swift. Regarding the former, men will have to focus on specifically the zodiac sign Scorpio since it deals with all the things that are necessary in such a venture, notably astral affinity and maximum penetrative capability, not leaving a stone unturned, so to speak. That kind of energy. Women don't need to focus on a particular zodiac sign, but it's still recommended to opt for Cancer. Both parties will have to work at night when the respective planets and applicable zodiac signs are at their strongest. After having gone through all of the aforementioned, so with your ritual, etc., you'll have your spirit that suits you the best for your intentions. Lastly, all you have to do is ask said entity to show you what you desire to know. And then it's simply a matter of rinse and repeat. Now, as is the case by default, my articles are self-explanatory. I'm simply going to briefly elaborate on everything I said. So on the article, the content, the body of the article as a whole. Sorry, here and there. Now, yeah, generally speaking, for divinatory purposes, people, including myself, use things like astrology, tarot cards. Some people use rune stones or something to that extent, you know. They use something that requires using material implements. By material implements, I mean something no differently than a magazine, a pencil, a piece of paper, your cell phone, you name it. People use stuff like that. Um, Also a scrying mirror, etc., etc. Now, for people, for example, that don't want to use any of those things, just like the article says, you can do it purely ethereally. And essentially, that would be if people want to take a so-called page or a group of pages, hypothetically speaking, from my playbook, the playbook in this question or in this context, obviously being my practice, then they would simply use mind delving. That's what I teach, for example, applicants or people that enroll in my course or people that are pupils of mine or were once pupils, or both. Um, but let's just say that for whatever reason, it's impractical for you. You're not comfortable with the idea of specifically connecting to someone's mind to see what they're up to, or you're not interested in simply the whole notion doesn't appeal to you as much, you know, in the sense of, hey, I I want to do it exactly in this way, you know, and you prefer to simply do it in a different way, but without, again, using the aforementioned material implements. Like, you're like, "Ugh, no astrology or tarot cards, nothing. I just want like purely energy to tell me what I want to know." And it just goes on. And you're like, no mind delving, you know, I don't want to connect to someone's mind. For example, I want to know what my ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend was up to, or what my ex-husband is up to. I want to know if I'll be getting that job that I applied for last week because it's taking a while and I thought they would get back to me sooner, blah, 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 etc., etc. But I don't want to use any of those things. I just want purely energy. In that case, yeah, you know. I mean, generally speaking, I don't think people would have an issue with mind delving because you don't obviously specifically have to connect with someone's mind. You can just as easily ask the question. But if you, for example, my point is if you do not want, because that's the difference, if you do not want yourself to be the catalyst, then this is the option. This is the one of, at the very least, one of the most practical options. If you're not careful, the most practical option other than all the other aforementioned modus operandi. So, bluntly put, you'll simply have to work with an entity that can help you out in this regard or aspect. And you'll have to go to work in the aforementionedly described manner. But of course, the devil lies in the details, as is the case by default. So, it's not just a matter of, hey, practice makes perfect. For example, you're a practitioner, you're like, yeah, it's not a problem, Marino. I know how to summon spirits, I know how to work with them, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's the basis. And it's not just that. Okay, because what's going to happen, there are several things that can go awry or wrong, quote unquote wrong, due to some kind of fog in the mechanics, so to speak. You're getting information that doesn't align with fact. So something that is quote unquote wrong. The reason I use quotations is because nothing is wrong really. If you, for example, bluntly put, ask a spirit how much 2 plus 2 is, and the spirit says something other than 4, there is a reason for that. It's not a black and white issue. The spirit isn't literally wrong. There is a reason that that spirit told you that it's something else. Like, for example, 22. There is a reason. And that's where you being skilled comes into play and knowledgeable on what you're doing, you know, as in deciphering, as in why did that spirit tell me that when I was looking for the answer 4. I'm sorry, I misspoke earlier, not 5, 4, obviously. 2 plus 2 obviously equals 4. And instead of 4, the spirit tells you 22, you know, then there's a reason for that. And you need to understand that, hey, why did that spirit tell me 22 when the answer I was looking for was 4? But that spirit isn't wrong. It could be anything. It could be your personality, some kind of deficit that makes it so that incoming messages, you know, they don't align with what you want specifically in the way of information and information-based validity and whatnot, or something akin to that. Pointing cases, again, pointing cases that there are several reasons for why something like that might happen. Believe me, even with mind delving, something like that can also happen. But that's why, again, the devil lies in the details. Anyways, referring to this, you can follow my links and everything, follow my instructions, utilize planetary magic. Planetary magic simply means if you're a practitioner, rather than just take a spirit from a book or anything like that, you just go like, okay, the planet Mars, the planet Mercury, please, when you host your ritual, please send me an entity that meets all of my standards. Write it on a piece of paper if you can't memorize it. I want the entity to be able to help me with, specifically be able to see information and to show me information, like in a vision, literally in front of me, like a television or similar, like a screen, in regards to any question I might have. And it just goes on and so on and so forth. And just like I said, details play a huge role. For example, in regards to gender, for guys, Mars is the best planet for this, and specifically focusing on Scorpio, its underlying zodiac sign, or its subservient zodiac sign, or its corresponding zodiac sign, in any case, whatever. Um, for reasons I mentioned, Mars is maximum concentration because people would usually make the quote unquote mistake of thinking that it's the moon or it's Mercury because, hey, Marino, isn't this based on thoughts and whatnot, and doesn't like Gemini, so Mercury deal with information and blah blah blah. All of it is interconnected. Understand that clearly. But in this case, what you're not just looking for the information, you're looking for receiving the information at its most purest and potentest form in alignment with your intent. So no baggage is added to your information that could be, from your vantage point, misconstrued or just plain construed as being quote unquote wrong or anything like that. So for guys, by default, Mars is the best option. Scorpio specifically, you do your thing at night, etc. So once you have your entity, the planet Mars sent you an entity as an okay, excellent angel A or angel B, whatever the angel's name is. If it's an angel, if some other entity, doesn't matter. It's all good. Okay. The planet essentially sends you an entity that aligns with your intentions and wishes and personality as well as overall that will literally be able to help you out the best. And regardless of what kind of entity it is, like an angel, a demon, so a celestial spirit, an infernal spirit, an elemental spirit, doesn't matter, or a pagan god, even a thought form, wouldn't matter. Okay, bottom line is you have your entity, you have your spirit. So now you converse with your spirit, you go through the motions the same way you do with someone that's alive, a normal person, you know. You enter the introduction, simply talking and speaking to one another. Hello, how are you? Going through the pleasantries, motion wise. And then you get down to business. You do your thing when Mars is at its strongest at night. So on a Tuesday, in regards to your respective location, most of you watching this already know what a planetary hours calculator is. If you don't know, then look it up on my website and you can't miss it, you know? Um, and then you can know when, for example, for guys, when Mars is at its strongest. And guys will get the best results. Just like I said, you'll get results that are the most potent information that is the most accurate in alignment with exactly what you want as possible. For example, um, you want to know what the weather will be like a week from now, specifically when you have plans to do something, to go to the beach or anything like that. Then you'll get the answer that is the closest to being, so to speak, accurate. So, in alignment with your intentions, you'll be shown exactly that, hey, the spirit that you work with is going to show you that, hey, boom, this is what's going to happen. Okay, this is what you can expect. This is the forecast. And any other kind of baggage like um, ethereal energy that is the equivalent of information within this context will be essentially left behind or it will be minimized. So, like I said, no stone hypothetically will be unturned. Not like, oh, okay, so what, for example, okay, yeah, no, the weather was nice, but, you know, it, all of a sudden, like, it stopped raining. Initially, I wanted it to rain, because I was gonna go. I like swimming in the rain and stuff like that when I go to the beach. Just giving an example. And all of a sudden, the rain stopped. And then you're going to get an answer, for example, that, hey, you didn't ask for that. You just asked that, like, your intentions were like, hey, buddy, is it gonna rain or not? And I told you, yeah, see here for yourself, buddy boy. It's gonna rain. You see my point? It's about being as detailed as possible. So in that context, you'll be getting like all the information or maximum information in alignment with other miscellaneous factors, how skilled you are as a practitioner, how 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 flexible you are, your personality, all of that stuff. You'll be getting literally the best out of um, out of what you're looking for. So nothing will be, so to speak, left up in the air or left up to semantics and blah blah blah. No, 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 no. And as for women, it's recommended the moon. The moon rules all water signs, so I mean not rules, but the moon rules water, elementally speaking. So the moon is strong in all astrological water signs. So Cancer, obviously, which it rules over, Scorpio and Pisces. But it's still recommended for women that you use Cancer because the moon will be at its most potent then. So for girls or women, it's a Monday is recommended at night when the moon is at its strongest. Same thing, you use the planetary hours calculator, yada yada yada. You interact with your entity and you ask whatever question you want, and the entity is going to show you exactly. What's going to happen? The benefit is that although not even remotely as strong as the modus operandi applicable to men, the benefit of women is that they have swift flexibility. Since it's the moon, and women align with the moon, obviously, then in this context, then women will get results much quicker, and yet these results will still be heavily potent. So you'll still get like high quality information where little to nothing is left up to just that semantics or wording or unclear intentions from your point out or anything like that. No, again, everything has its benefits and drawbacks. I discussed this in like the occult and gender, etc., etc. Benefit by default for guys is that, you know, they'll be the strongest, period. It's just the strongest and the most potent. You want pure strength, peak strength, you go to a guy. No offense to women, but you go to a man. End of story. Um, Drawback is that for guys, it takes a while to get there. It's not something that, Rome wasn't built in a day, so it takes a while, so to speak, within the context of any person's practice from a neutral point of view and or perspective. But for women get their boom, lickety split. That's one of the benefits of any lunar endeavor. When women apply everything the way I said, they'll get results like instantly, and it's more flexible. A guy will have to just briefly sit and say, okay, listen, let me see. I want to know something and I want to know everything that there is to know about it. I need to plan a date. Let's see. Tuesday is in a couple of days. You know, let's schedule something for nighttime. I'll take care of it then. I'll summon the spirit that Barnes sent me then, and let's get down to business. For a woman, she has more flexibility. Okay. Whereas it might take the guy half an hour before he's done. Like the guy literally got all the information. He squeezed everything out of that. He squeezed everything out of that sack of information, so to speak. For a woman, she's done in I think like 5 minutes. She's just like no 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 and done. And yet, although not as detailed as the guys, her information is still quite potent. Like on a scale of 0 to 10, it's a good solid 7 or an 8 even. Extremist cases a 9 even. With the guy will exceed 10. Like really. So yeah, that's essentially it. And this is one of the things you can use if you, again, like I said, you don't want tarot card readings or you don't want to use any of those divinatory methods, you know, for example, because learning them can be difficult, especially astrology and understanding all of the elements and whatnot involved. You simply want something energy based, as in you just want to be able to interact with energy and you want the energy to tell you what you want to know and you want it to be correct up to maximum extents, correct purely in a manner of speaking, speculatively, within the context of your entire practice and everything else that makes up what you're doing, obviously. Then yeah, this is one of the most effective ways to do so. And that is all. Bye bye.